described in the official handbook as Dresden's main tourist attraction. Used by the Saxon court for what the guide says were gay and very costly feasts, it is now, continues the guide, an unequalled example of Baroque architecture. To underline the party's resolve to restore all that is excellent, and which will help pull in the tourists, the decision was made last year to rebuild the famous Semper Opera House. The target date for completion is 1982. Yet despite the importing of Polish craftsmen, it's unlikely to be met. There's a great deal of beauty in the city, which is still nicknamed Florence on the Elbe. And the old palace buildings, where they have been restored, are used to house the art galleries. Culture thrives in Dresden the whole year round. The concerts and theatres are booked up months in advance, and the reason is simple. Dresden is the only East German city unable to receive West German television because of its geographical location. The local joke is that when East German television opens up in the evening, the announcer greets the Dresden viewers, knowing that there are precious few others. There's also a loathing of anything military. The Russians have a barracks next door to the impressive military museum, which was empty when I looked in. Later, a local told me that no self-respecting Dresdener would be seen dead in the place. One of the highlights of my visit was the 8th art exhibition, widely hailed as the most liberal yet. A foreign correspondent remarked after seeing it that he could not detect any work of art which could have been branded socialist realism, the official workers' art form. Many of the exhibits were clearly ironic, like the snail with a television aerial. It seemed to symbolize the way so many East Germans retreat into their private shell after their socialist day.
That dispatch from Edward Vickers in Dresden ends this edition of From Our Own Correspondent. Our next edition will be on Thursday morning at 10:05.
From Our Own Correspondent was introduced by Mira Stewart and produced by William Horsley. In tonight's Kaleidoscope, we look at a controversial new Italian film called 1900, which traces the lives of two young boys, one a peasant, the other from a rich family, to their final conflict on Liberation Day 1945. There's an international cast including Donald Sutherland and Robert De Niro. And in the programme, Professor Stuart Hood will be discussing the 4-hour film. That's in Kaleidoscope, presented by Paul Vaughan tonight at 9:30. But now the time is 7:45. The Monday Play. The Unexpected by Barbara FOXE, with Michael Spice as Rayner Harrison and Joan Matheson as Elizabeth Shaw.
So, there is the house. I must slow down. It's too hot to hurl myself up the road like a piece of machinery that's about to explode. Strong whiskey might help. That could have its drawbacks. This is well, Henry can't read my thoughts. And my God, there is Henry, standing at the window, gazing. Let him gaze. If he's hoping that I shall fall flat on my face, he is going to be disappointed. How long since he heard any gunfire? Will she be there, I wonder? Or shall I be greeted in the best Henry manner? And Henry, at his best, is a computer, slotting me into some damn slot of his own, filing my visit for future reference. Now that would be ironic, if only he knew the circumstances. Henry, how well I remember that voice. On the afternoon of the 27th of July, 3:57 approximately, I saw a man approaching the gates of my house. His walk was unsteady, but that was no concern of mine. A gawky creature who might at any moment fall to pieces on the pavement, and others would be held responsible. I recognized him as the man Rayner Harrison, who had been my sister's friend for more years than I care to remember. And the best years were undoubtedly those marked by his absence. He returns like the albatross, a creature of ill omen. He will bring trouble, and nobody can say I haven't warned her. At 3:59 approximately, he walked up to the front door and hunted for the front doorbell. Oh, the damn fool. No, round the side, that's right. Anybody else would have put it at the front. Press the bell, Rayner, and... yes, now she will come running. And when she sees me, she will look as though the skies have opened. One gets used to it in time. The unexpected appearance of an old friend is apparently all she asks of heaven, and I defy anyone to be more unexpected. Nice of you to welcome me, Henry.
Any friend of Elizabeth's always welcome. Any time. Come up for a drink before you go.
Many thanks.
I shall look forward to it. Years since we met. Don't forget now.
I won't forget. He doesn't change, does he? He only enlarges the shadow of his mind.
He is a very popular man.
Not with me.
I will admit that he should have come down to greet you in his own house. And you and I have been friends for 30 years. It was thoughtless.
Thoughtless? It was studied arrogance. Why have you come back to live with him? Why?
He needed a housekeeper, and I'd lived alone for so long.
Widowed and alone. That's a quotation from Henry. I recognize the style. Always very strong on the pathos was Henry.
Oh, Ray, I'm so happy to see you. But when you leap out of the sky like this, there's always a reason. Why?
Leap out of the sky? Oh, it's a long time since I flew a plane. I wanted to see you before I go to France. I'm going to stay there with Philip for a year. He's ill.
Philip, ill? As ill as that?
Oh, yes. Yes, quite as ill as that. And you have been in my mind, Bess. Why did you come back here? Are you happy? That's the question.
I live quietly here. It's peaceful and secure. Truly. Remember, I was born in this house. I've spent most of my life away from it, but it is a familiar place. Even the stairs. I know every one of them.
Peaceful. Let me have a look at you. Yes, you've settled down. I can see that. Well, you've earned it. Now, can we sit down somewhere? I'm finding that things tend to shimmer a little at the edges.
Oh, it's the heat. Come into the sitting room. You look tired.
I'd rather sit in the garden. Too hot indoors.
And of course, Henry can't hear us in the garden.
That thought may have crossed my mind, yes.
Then we'll go outside. This way. Come and sit on the deck chairs.
In all fairness to Henry, my dear, don't forget that he is easily shocked. I've often shocked him in the past. I always feel that he expects me to arrive with a team of young Apollos, fresh from the guards.
No, he's changed his ideas, Ray. He approves of you now. He says we must move with the times, and it's all part of the ethos of the age, the acceptance of all sexual types, the great sexual liberation.
Oh, that's so terribly nice of him. Terribly, terribly nice. Here we are. Deck chairs. I'll sit in the sun here. You always prefer to be cool. You take that one in the shade of the tree. Oh, the house looks very grand from here. Henry has modernized it beyond belief. Quiet, good taste, which means damned expensive as always.
I wish he'd left the coloured panes on the front door. When I was a child, they cast odd medieval colours in the afternoon light. You could stand on the front door mat and change colour. Streaks of crimson and violet. Think what fun it would be to change colour. You could hope that people would look for you for hours and never find you. But there you were, all the time, standing on the doormat, bright green.
Yeah, I suppose that's why he moved the bell, to avoid spoiling his faceless new door. A door should have some sort of face.
He altered it years ago when he married. I was 12 when our parents separated. We grew up in lodgings. Then the house stood empty for a while. It was requisitioned in the war, and when Father died, Henry inherited it, as you know.
Did I know? I never thought about it. To me it was an adjunct of Henry, like his car or his hat, changeable. You lived here so little I hardly saw the place. Does it matter so much to you? Does a place matter? I find that enviable.
Yes, it matters. It was always there. Are you sure the sun isn't too hot for you?
No, Bess, no. Can he see us here?
Henry can see everything.
Oh, how glorious is the life of Henry. Oh, always interruptions. Life is never still. And you, here of all places, what do you find to do, following the curve of the seasons, the shape of the morning, always from the same place? It is an extraordinary tendency in women.
Well, not everyone wants to race around the world.
Summer. There's a smell of mint. And someone's been tarring the road. And all those damn seagulls, listen. There is a whole world in smells and sounds, I'll grant you that.
You didn't come here to talk about mint. How many miles have you driven today?
The mileage is not relevant. I'm resting now, aren't I?
I'll bring you some tea.
Whiskey?
Tea.
Oh, very well, tea. But it was coffee we drank in that cafe by the pier in the ward. Do you remember? Tasted of eggshells and boiled mice.
The war. All these films make it seem as remote as the Battle of Agincourt.
Agincourt? Oh, no, that was a piece of monumental folly.
No, war was a part of life, just like today. Nothing was so different. I can't see any gap.
I detest all wars. But if wars there must be, finish them quickly. It's more merciful. And talking of mercy, I need a drink.
Tea. I'll get it.
It was coffee that evening when we first met. That endless ack-ack gunfire. Coffee, guns, and dustbins.
Dustbins?
There was a waitress there, talking about dustbins, God knows why. Natter. And don't ask me which war. The longbow had ceased to be a live issue for some centuries before you and I met.
What was the live issue?
The live issue was what the hell we were going to do to survive, in more senses than one. That was the question, and it still is.
Evening. Can I get you something?
Oh, not yet. I'm meeting a friend. I'll wait.
Does she drink coffee?
Why, isn't there any?
Oh, plenty of coffee. But I tell you straight, it tastes dreadful. I think it's that powdered milk. That must have come from a cow once. It stands to reason.
You feel it got lost along the way and now there isn't any connection? I know what you mean. Doesn't taste natural.
Oh, not that I'm in favour of nature. It's all right in its place, but leave nature to itself, and what happens?
You may well ask.
A return to the jungle, which is where we're heading, as I often say.
I'm sure you do.
Well, everywhere you look. Take dustbins.
Dustbins?
Oh, disposal of waste. Even the dustmen expecting tips to remove rubbish which every householder would burn for himself in a civilized society. Oh, I read it in an article. And how true. Though, of course, special arrangements would have to be made for glass jam jars.
And rubber tires.
Oh, and as you say, rubber tires. Not to mention the smell.
Oh, excuse me. That young lady by the door.
Oh, she's looking for someone. A blind date. Well, don't you know who it is you're meeting?
Well, I'm looking for the fiancée of a friend of mine who can't come, and she fits the description.
You can ask her, can't you? No offence will be taken if it's the wrong one. Not with you in uniform. Everything forgiven to our gallant lads. Oh, hey, she's seen you.
Good evening. Is your name Rayner?
Yes. You must be Elizabeth.
Yes.
Good evening. I was just nerving myself
Nerving yourself?
He's shy, dear. Not like most of them. Stand any woman under the age of 85 by the pier on a fine day and she'll have to fight them off with a fly swatter. Yeah. Do you want coffee with powdered milk?
Yes, please.
Oh, it's your risk. Anything to eat? Baked beans on toast or scrambled dried egg?
Well, either would be very nice.
It's optimism like that will win us the war in the
Two
end.
coffees and 2 scrambled eggs, please.
Fair enough. After all, it could be worse. Ever since whale meat, I stopped grumbling. This is the worst, I thought. After this, things can only get better. 2 coffees and 2 scrambled eggs on toast, please.
She's a hearty. Talk ever since I came in. The war seems to bring it out. Have you noticed?
Maybe we need it. Walking in the blackout, someone's voice laughing suddenly, you know.
Yes. Look, I hope you don't mind that... John said he'd phoned you.
Yes, he's on guard duty, but I'm happy to meet a friend of John's anyway.
You're to be married soon?
Very soon. He's expecting embarkation leave. I shall go on teaching. Life goes wandering off in the strangest directions, like a path I never planned. It's crazy. My brother Henry resents that.
Why?
We expect life to be tidy. Our childhood was never tidy, it was confused. Our parents separated, and then as soon as we'd grown up, the war. The war, you see. It took Henry by surprise.
It's a description of war. I like that. It took Henry by surprise. Did he resent that too?
Oh, yes. He's in a reserved occupation, but he doesn't like it.
And you're teaching classes of evacuees from London. 52 a class, John tells me.
Yes, we teach them between the sirens, in and out of the air raid shelters all day as the planes come in over the sea.
Oh, tough in the winter.
In the winter, we hang a mug on a piece of string round their necks, as well as the gas mask, of course.
A mug?
For hot cocoa. The women in the road by the school make it and bring it down to the air raid shelters in big jugs. No heat in the shelters, you see, and not much light, and sometimes we're down there for hours while the planes fight it out. Or the all clear goes, and then later down again. We sing and tell stories. Once, the children were machine-gunned by a plane as they ran down the road. I suppose it was a temptation to the pilot, or the gunner, or somebody. All those bright colours moving.
2 coffees and scrambled eggs, twice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, there you are. Enjoy yourselves.
Thank you.
We will.
Thank you.
It's true that we get a different view of things when we're up there in planes. Dehumanizing, but not any happier. I had a friend.
John said.
I know what John said. It's all right. He said my friend was killed 2 months ago flying splits, didn't he?
Yes, Rayner, I'm sorry about that. Deeply sorry.
Thanks.
There they go again. There's no end to it, is there? I hate the planes most at night when I'm on night duty, ARP, racing up the empty street, feeling a fool in a tin hat. I always think they can see me. And here's one for her, they say.
Oh, not the night bombers. They've other things on their minds.
And that's the understatement of the century. Yes, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? Do you ever feel like laughing?
I frequently laugh my damned head off.
Rayner,
Yeah?
you'll come to the wedding, won't you?
I should be very happy. Thank you.
I've only known John for 2 months. Henry thinks I'm mad. Wait till he comes back if he's going overseas, Henry said. Use your sense. But I don't care. Rayner, I'm mad with happiness. I can't help it.
Oh, for God's sake, don't apologize. Nobody who is happy should hide joy tactfully. If you want to dance in the street, then you dance and I'll join you.
I believe you would.
Certainly I would. Stand well back, civilian, and watch my smoke.
I'll do that, Rayner. Tea with biscuits.
2 coffees with powdered milk, scrambled dried eggs on toast twice. Enjoy yourself.
Yes, I remember. The cafe by the pier. And afterwards we went to a pub and you became drunk. Very quietly and with great dignity.
I don't remember the dignity. I remember seeing you home.
Yes. You left me at the gate and said you were going to look at the sea in case it felt neglected.
I don't remember that either. I was probably full of maudlin pity for the universe.
Ray, keep your voice down. Henry may hear you.
Well, let him hear. Let him hear. I will not lower my voice.
Ray.
This is excellent. Let him hear that. Excellent tea!
That evening, Ray, when you were drunk, after you left me, did you go on laughing?
No. No, I didn't go on laughing. I am grateful to you, you bloody ocean out there. The spite of the world tears open your surface and makes wounds. Men sail across you, and they die. They fly over you. They slaughter each other with a dexterity that could keep this whole damn planet green and sane as a field of young wheat. If they chose. But they do not choose. We are all insane and changeable creatures having no knowledge of calm. Take this pebble token of my esteem. He was on fire when he fell. He was flaming past all hope. And you are cool and quiet, and you received him, and for that I am grateful. But you are indifferent, detached, and that I resent. I resent it. Do you hear? That more or less is what I said. As far as I can remember, I was admittedly drunk.
The calm of the sea.
I've always appreciated calm, having remarkably little of it myself. I also resent it. It haunts me, detachment. Oh, the sea is so cold.
You were haunted. I never knew.
Well, the subject was hardly likely to come up. And at least I remained stone-cold sober throughout your wedding. Honeymoon on embarkation leaving in the middle of a war has never struck me as giving much cause for rejoicing.
No. Our honeymoon in a great empty hotel full of old men and bored waiters. And John was recalled for overseas embarkation on the second day. But he didn't embark. They kept him in London. Every weekend I visited him there. And every weekend we said the last goodbye before he sailed. And every time I went back to school to teach in a railway carriage with a dim blue light. And I thought, hell is like this. The next weekend he was still there, back to London again, and goodbye again. The last time, only I didn't know then that it was the last, it was the fourth weekend. And the craziest thing happened. I've never told Henry, of course, it was so undignified.
Good. What was it?
Yes, boss.
Oh, God.
I don't want to interrupt. Seeing you both there has put the idea of tea into my mind. Would it be of any trouble, my dear?
I made tea for you, Henry, and left it on a tray outside your door. I knocked, as usual.
Oh, that explains it. My apologies. I was reading. Is she looking after you, Rayner?
Admirably.
Then if all's well,
Excellent well, i'faith.
He has closed the window. Now he will drink the tea and forget us. He will begin to prepare for his meeting this evening. He has to give a speech. He will walk up and down, planning what he is going to say.
You sound like a naturalist, one who studied the animal in its habitat. Tell me about the crazy thing which happened in London in the war, which you never told Henry, of course, because it was undignified. You can tell me dignity was never an article which I wore in my hat, even on Sundays.
You never worn a hat, even on Sundays.
Well, then, the weekends when you came up to say goodbye over and over again, what was undignified?
Well, at night, John always had to go back to his billet. Officially, he never left it, of course. I don't even know where it was. They were waiting for embarkation, and one night, he left his army gaiters, khaki things, at the hotel in Paddington where I was staying. I put on a dressing gown and I rushed down the front steps after him. There was an air raid on at the time. And the front door closed behind me. John!
Bess! For God's sake, what are you doing out here?
Gaiters! Here, you left them.
They don't matter. You could be killed.
Of course it matters. You're not supposed to be out of your billet.
Go back quickly. I can't come with you. I'm late already.
Somebody ought to say, haven't you noticed there's a war on?
Go back quickly.
John, the front door is shut.
Ring the bell.
Then that woman will open it and she'll see me standing there in a dressing gown outside the house, coming in from the street at night. What will she say?
Well, you can tell me one day what she's saying, but go back now.
John.
Let them say what they like. It was worth it. Now go, you must.
Right. What will she say?
And what did she say?
Nothing. She said nothing at all. She just opened the door and stood looking at me without comment, as though it were a very ordinary thing, only to be expected.
Right, in a hotel near Paddington Station, and in wartime she was quite right. Oh, such innocence. Yes, that would have irritated Henry.
I never saw her again. Next week, John had gone overseas. I didn't see him again for 4 years.
4 years. Women are remarkably faithful. Or were.
Oh, I just waited. I was never much good at making plans. I went on living.
Plans? What use of plans? Just a spinning of webs, useless. After the war, you and John had to live in that limbo of bed-sitting rooms because of the housing shortage.
Bombs do cause a housing shortage, after all.
Not for Henry. Straight onto the local council and into the first prefab built to affront the skyline in an outer suburb where he could hold little meetings for earnest political thinkers, while you and John were cooking me sausages on a gas ring on the floor. And you couldn't have children or anything untidy of that sort, because pregnancy meant immediate notice to quit. Plans? Was that the shape of marriage as you had planned it?
No, but there were moments. You laughed as much as we did. I remember the three of us on holiday in Brittany, and we had to carry our bags 4 miles to the station from the hotel because we had no money. And you laughed all the way. You said it was typical. The brochures, you said, were not like this.
Nor were they.
And after that, your firm kept you travelling abroad for years. There were so few chances to see you, even before John was killed.
But still you wrote. It surprised me.
Why? It was what I cared about most. People. 1 or 2 people. Friends.
So few meetings.
Well, friendship is like that. What does he look like, I used to say to myself. I remember the unimportant things. The shape of a letter lying on the table in a foreign stamp. The place I saw you last. And even then, only that the gutter by the curb was running with water and there were drops of rain on an iron handrail. I could hold all that in my hand like a street scene in the glass bubble of a child's toy. But I couldn't see you. I had a woman friend. She died. I used to strain to remember that odd, amused way she had of carrying her head, and then suddenly looking up. But you can't keep it. It goes. It passes.
You sound very tranquil as you say that. Unlike my own rages, it was the quality I always remembered in you, serenity. Your letters arrived when I was in some place I'd never heard of before and certainly never wanted to see again. The noise, the heat, the smooth business faces. Then, that envelope. The same careful writing. There she is again, I thought. Detached, calm.
Detached, calm. Have you been imagining all these years?
It was true. John said the same thing. It's your religion, I suppose.
I'll tell you something. Listen. Can you hear it?
Can I hear what?
The long, slow sound of the sea. And the seagulls. They call, they drift, they rest on the air. They do not give a damn.
Then I envy them.
Sometimes I open my window in the night and I stand there by the open window just listening to the sea. I used to do that after the nightmare. Listening.
The nightmare?
Always the same one. It began after John died. To come home safe after the war. And then only a few years later to die like those crushed field mice and hedgehogs in country lanes. The driver of the car who killed him drove on. He left him there. He was walking home after all that happened in the war. Just walking home.
Violence. There isn't any end to it. But it always comes as a shock. Unexpected. Oh, I've seen so much of it in the East. But it always fills me with rage. It's a mad world. I wish I'd been in England at the time. But you wrote to me about it, my dear. Brave letters, sensible letters.
Sensible? Yes, I suppose they were.
And calm, as always.
Calm. I wonder where you are as you read this letter. Are the white buildings in brilliant sunlight? What leaves are on your trees? Are there fountains in courtyards, or beggars and pimps and flies? I tip a letter off the edge of the world, and it drops down into space. and somewhere 1,000 miles away it falls into your hand. Where are you as you read it, I wonder? In some hotel? I'm writing it in a small room I've taken close to the school.
I'm teaching again. What else is there for a childless widow to do? The children are bringing me back to life. I was dead for a while. Have you ever felt that? And then one begins to notice colors, shapes, sounds again. Very slowly. Don't worry about me, Ray. There is a tap dripping. I can hear it. In a minute I shall get up and turn it off. A month ago I would not have heard it. Now I'm alive again.
Yes. And then the nightmare began. I was walking up the lane where they found John's body. It was pitch dark, but I could see. The man who ran him down was standing there, bending over him. The man they never found. I had a knife in my hand, Ray. A sharp knife. And I used the knife.
We all have dreams, Bess.
But I enjoyed killing him. Each time I woke up, I felt young, happy. There was joy in my hand as the knife went in. I could feel it for days afterwards, looking at my hand secretly, smiling to myself.
And why not? Simple hate, nothing more. The mother tigress has claws.
Henry is not a man to understand the mother tigress. He's very kind. Oh, yes, Ray, he can be kind in his own way. He would have been patient with me if I'd felt guilty about murderous impulses in the night, but I didn't feel guilty. I was delighted.
Your dreams were your own business. Perhaps he has his own. You were wise to live with him then. The house was your fortress. You needed shelter.
He'd just been divorced. He needed a reliable housekeeper. Someone discreet.
Women.
Of course. And after John's death, I was glad of somewhere to go. I was still a little upset.
Little upset. And what did he make of our friendship?
Well, he's never understood friendship. At first, he didn't approve of your sexual...
Oh, call it a way of life. I like that phrase. Beautifully sociological. Yes. He still doesn't approve. He simply condescends. You and I, my dear, are both oddities. We do not fit.
But when he became more modern in his ideas, he expected me to give dinner parties and invite you to them, and not to scribble letters to you to tell you about the movement of leaves or some book I'd read. At one time, he even thought that perhaps we were lovers.
And would he have approved of that?
Oh, yes. He could never understand why I was not what he calls sexually active after a few years of widowhood.
Oh.
He said that a full, free sex life would make me well-integrated, happy, a part of the whole ethos of the modern age. And if you make rude gestures like that, Ray, you'll drop your teacup. Give it to me.
Let him rot. If he is happy, well-integrated, a part of the ethos, whatever it is, and since he has money and is a member of the local council, and I do not inquire about his sexual activities, but let us assume that there also he practices what he preaches, then why do you worry about him?
Well, he's not faithful to anything. That's why he can't understand friendship. He's always changing to suit the circumstances. What a way to live, Ray. He's so vulnerable.
The man's a chameleon, that's all. He needs protective coloration. When he's afraid, he merges into his surroundings. We all do it.
We all do it sometimes. He does it all the time.
Well, let him. Who cares? In a Puritan age, he would have been stoking the flames to burn the harlots. Today, he's worried because his sister has a preference for chastity. A few years ago, he was staunch for the empire, I remember. Today, he disapproves because you have a religion and because you doze off to sleep in your chair when he talks about the revolution of the left. I tell you, if ever this country goes over to devil worship, Henry will undoubtedly lead the Black Mass, looking magnificent in purple robes and probably growing a beard. I've met many Henrys in the business world. They flourish there, they proliferate. You expect me to pity them?
No, but I've been happier than he has. I enjoy very small moments. I enjoy a great many things.
I know. I valued your happiness. And why it should annoy Henry, God only knows. Life has always been unexpected. But not you, Bess. You came back to a beloved house. Good. You left after a year and lived alone, and now you are here again. A completed circle. I wanted to see for myself.
Did you indeed? And are you satisfied?
Certainly I am satisfied. Now I shall go to France. I phoned Philip a few days ago to tell him that I am coming. Just a brief phone call to France. And all is well. He is expecting me. I've made all the arrangements.
Sold the flat?
That's in hand. I'll be with you in a couple of weeks. There's one friend over here I want to see first.
Friend? A long visit?
Do I ever? One afternoon should do it.
Restless devil. You always were. One afternoon. Think you can bear to stay here for a year or more?
Oh, yes.
Well, there's plenty of space. I fixed up a room for you overlooking the river.
Have you got a nurse?
Are you joking?
No, they have their uses.
I dare say, but we don't need any bloody nurses here.
As you like. Is the local quack any good?
Very good. Look, how much is this call costing you?
I've no idea, and I don't care. Phil, how long since we met?
Long enough.
How's the boat?
In good trim.
And you?
Not such good trim, but good enough.
Well, I shall burst into your flat, radiating energy.
Oh, God. Energy and irritability. How well I remember that mixture.
Phil, you're sure this is a good idea? You do want me over there?
Yes. Yes, I do. And you?
Oh, yes. Yes, don't worry about that. I have no doubts. I am there in my mind already.
That sounds good. But don't leave it too long, will you?
One last visit here, and I'm on my way.
And stop radiating energy.
As you say. Be seeing you.
See you.
And you say you have no sense of duty. You were always busy, active, useful. I'm not suggesting that it was easy for you.
Thank you.
But you overcame your difficulties.
Oh, God almighty.
All those years after the war, after your friend had died in that plane, you lived quietly, alone.
Did I indeed?
Well, I thought you did. And then when you began to live with Philip, I was glad. I thought you were settled for life.
I have never been settled for life. That's a common illusion between friends. When you went to live with Henry after John died, I thought you were settled for life. And when you left him after a year and went to live in that bedsit, I thought...
You thought how foolish of her.
I thought how remarkably sensible of her. Knowing Henry, I imagined that you'd passed a placid year together and then decided that independence was wiser. So you left, after some consideration, quietly. Was it like that?
No, it was not like that.
Elizabeth! Oh, there you are.
Yes, Henry. And while you're here, you might just put these plates away.
Where do they go?
There are moments, Henry, when I wonder if you live here at all. You inhabit this house as though it were a hotel. Surely before you and Rita were divorced, you put the plates away sometimes.
At least I've always known where the glasses are kept.
Dear Henry, when you say things like that, I can see why Rita married you. In the cupboard by the door.
Rita married me because I was doing extremely well financially and likely to do better.
Not so.
Then why?
Voice, movement of hands, passion for the proletariat.
Movement of hands?
Very attractive. And it never seemed to worry her that, in fact, none of that lovely money went to the proletariat. As I see it, you can have a house like this and a flat in London, or you can give lectures about the triumph of the workers and the left. Not both.
You're no Tory.
I have no politics, only people.
And that's why...
When I bring home any of the proletariat, the smaller members of the masses, the ones I teach, you back away as though they'd just landed from Mars and probably speak a foreign language.
There's no need for you to teach at all.
It's kept me alive this year. It's exhausting, it's demanding, and it's useful, I hope.
Then teach in a private school. You might get to know the parents.
The ones who come to your cocktail parties.
Oh, believe me, Bess, I mean it for your own good. You're in your mid-40s now.
What's good about that?
Been living here for a year. By now you should be building a social life for yourself, making friends.
I have friends.
Useless to you.
Useless?
Your tragedy happened over a year ago, remember?
Yes, I do remember.
You would never believe how often I remember.
But are you thinking forward to the future? You may have another 40 years ahead of you.
I don't want to talk about it. I won't. No. Henry, I'm going to write some letters.
You're always writing letters. Usually to some friend, like the man Rayner, who sees you for a couple of days every 5 years when he happens to be in England. And when you meet one of your friends, what happens?
And what does happen?
Professor Mannington sounded reasonable, but he and his wife took you and Rayner to a film at the village cinema, back row of that flea pit. And he made comments on the film in Latin. And that bald man with one eye threw you out.
That was because of Ray's comments, which were not in Latin. Ray will never keep his voice down.
And when you stole a boat...
We did not steal it. We only appropriated it. We paid hire for it afterwards. It amazes me that we got back at all. Ray grounded the boat on mud in midstream, and all we had to eat between us was a packet of crisps and a jar of red currant jelly. I can taste it still.
Exactly, my dear. You're a grown woman. This sort of thing's for children.
Your own life and amusements, Henry, strike me as childish in the extreme. Our living together in the same house has depended entirely on my being very careful never to say so.
Elizabeth.
Blood tie has its drawbacks. If you were my employer instead of my brother, I could regard you as being in some ways juvenile and still run the house for you as a competent housekeeper. But as it is, I feel guilty because I can't respect you. And I know that you despise my friends, my religion, my teaching, everything that matters to me. It rubs me raw 1,000 times a day.
I have never made the smallest objection to your religious beliefs. Some people will always cling to ideas that have no real place in the world today. They are harmless. We've gone beyond them, that's all.
And sheer bloody-minded arrogance like that is also juvenile.
This is not like you.
It is exactly like me, as I think, not as I speak. And my religion is not just a belief. It's my life's blood, my breath. And I would rather drop dead than discuss it with you.
You're overreacting. I have an intense dislike of emotional scenes. In 40 years, I found that you are one of a few women who can control their emotions. It's a valuable asset.
A valuable asset and a discreet housekeeper who may be confronted by your women friends who are so often unable to control their emotion. Some of them have my sympathy. Going upstairs. I must go. I shall say something that'll tear down what has taken a year to build up. A very difficult year.
Difficult? My dear girl, your friends may seem to me an odd lot, but I have never objected to their visiting my house whenever you wish, provided I have nobody else here at the time.
And there you have it. If they come at the right time, when nobody who really matters might meet them, and if they're content with a couple of polite words from you when you pass them in the hall, and if they're extremely careful not to express any opinions whatever, yes. But have you noticed something, Henry? They haven't called recently. Nobody has called.
Why not?
They're highly intelligent people. They know when they're not welcome. They feel awkward. They think that they're making life here difficult for me. First one, then another. They drop away. They stop coming, Henry.
Rayner Harrison was here only last week.
For one day, because he's going abroad again. And you completely ruined that day by being so whimsically charming to him that it set his teeth on edge, and all because homosexuality has become fashionable, and you are a very fashionable man. You swept aside all his serious ideas as though they were not worth discussing, but you left a definite impression that he would have been more acceptable if he had appeared in drag.
Darling, this is mad. You are very obviously overtired. I've chosen the wrong moment, yes?
No, there aren't any right moments. Does it ever occur to you that I do not give one solitary damn about the sexual types of my friends, or their class, or anything else? They delight me.
For God's sake, why?
For 100 different reasons, but mostly because they have an inner greatness. I can't explain it, but I recognize it when I see it. It's like iron. And they've suffered, and they make their own happiness. They're practical people and kind. And they do you no harm whatever, and I will not have them humiliated.
I'll come and offer each of them a drink when they arrive in future. Yes, I mean it. At your age, Bess, you should rest more than you do. Travel. You're becoming abrasive.
It has nothing to do with age. I felt the same when I was 10. We can't talk about friendship, Henry, because we don't mean the same thing by the word. I can't even tell you about the maternal nature of women because you've never seen that such a thing exists. No, Henry. I can't go on.
What are you going to do?
I'll find myself a room somewhere. That'll be better for both of us.
You'll come back, Bess, eventually. If not for me, then for the house. You'll not leave it for long. You'll be back.
Never. Not again.
We might take a trip abroad. Do you good. One is more useful than you think. Ultimately, a lifestyle revolves entirely around what money will or will not let you do.
No, it does not. No.
Oh, yes, it does. How much help do you think you can give humanity on a primary school teacher's salary?
And what in God's name have you ever done for humanity?
Bess! Bess?
Bess, you amaze me.
I amazed Henry. I don't see why.
I hadn't realized. And though I don't know about the rest of your friends, your opinion of me is too high.
No, it is not.
You haven't seen much of me over the years. In a brief visit, nobody is at their worst.
So?
So I have been bedeviled by many things, none of them in the least noble. Philip and I stayed together, as you said, for a few years. I suppose there are marriages like that, better than nothing, worth trying, and ending in divorce. Most of it was my fault.
Your fault?
Insane jealousies. Irrational. Jealousy like that is a devil. I was dominated by it, humiliated. Somebody should give me a medal for self-made havoc. Looking back, I can despise it, but then... where does it come from, sudden havoc and despair? That reaching out against contempt, against the cold, reaching towards the young. It always took me by surprise. Jealousy is a wrecker, Bess.
Do you think I pass judgment? I wouldn't care if you were drunk, dirty, diseased, criminal. Don't you know anything about women?
I know that you once told me I was brutally self-absorbed and terrified of commitment.
And so you were. 20 years of friendship, and then you suddenly decided that all my letters were a bore. Not that you often answered them.
Ah, but it made me feel guilty to think that I wasn't answering them. And sometimes I become tired of people, especially when they stand about being patient. I want to break free and go.
And you went. For a while. You made the great gesture in a letter. But that's the trouble with great gestures. Slam the door and stride out into the night. Sooner or later, you have to stride back again. I can laugh about it now, but not then. Not then.
I did not stride. I wrote a dignified letter saying that it hardly seemed worthwhile to continue a friendship based on such infrequent meetings, and therefore... Oh, God, how pompous. But you can be difficult, always fussing about my health. Did I rest enough? And no, my dear Bess, I did not rest enough. And anyway, it was all a long time ago.
Yes. Well, I just kept on writing the letters and fussing, I suppose, and living my own life in my own way.
And yet you came back to Henry. Bess, are you happy here?
With Henry? No, yes. We live together, yet separately. It works very well. And when my friends call, he has evolved a form of courteous armed truce.
I noticed. He pays the price graciously enough in his fashion, and it buys you peace and quietness and a home in a world that is becoming darker. You and I have heard too much gunfire one way and another. I've been remembering a woman in South America. She had children. What mattered to her was the home, her roots.
No, you're mistaken. It wasn't like that for me, no, Ray.
Yes, I saw it in action. It goes deep in women. I was sitting outside the inn where I was staying on the outskirts of the town. The political troubles had been over for months. There was a smell of baking bread and some chickens were wandering about the road. It was one of those moments, just once or twice in a lifetime, when you know that if only life would keep still for a minute, something would open up in your mind. You would know. I had a song in my head. Philip liked it. I didn't. Schmaltz, I said.
Round both the shires they ring, the many steeples far and near, a happy noise to hear. here of a Sunday morning, my love and I would lie and see the coloured counties and hear the lark so high about us in the sky.
Buenos días, señor.
Senora Sanchez. A beautiful morning. Peaceful.
Sí, señor.
I was remembering a song of my own country.
A man should sing. Bueno.
No, not this man. I have no voice. Those chickens could sing it better. But in England, there are hills like these. My God! Get indoors, quickly!
No, señor.
You must! It may be very little, or it may be starting up again, the old troubles. They'll take to the streets. Now, inside, go!
Por favor, the children.
Your children? In the town?
At the White House, you remember. We're there with my sister, the house with the lapachos.
Right in the heart of the town, in the direct line of fire. Yes. And my car is here, and I'm here, and you want me to... No.
Señor, for the love of God.
Orders from the top management. When politics erupt, keep well away. Return to England immediately. Leave the reputation of the firm untarnished. And at all costs, keep away from the foreign police and or guerrillas. Very wise, if you think about it.
But Aquino is not here. No one is here. There is only you, and you are Inglés.
That is the problem, Inglés. The last thing either side wants on their hands is some damned interfering Englishman.
Por favor, señor, the children.
Get in the car.
No, I stay here with the house.
Either you come with me, or I don't go.
Never. I must stay here. A woman must stay with the house. I was born here, and I will die here.
Roots, childhood memories. Stay in the house and be blown up with it. I respect it. I don't understand it, and I'm not going to wait while you write me a thesis on it. Get in the car. It's that or nothing.
I come.
My God, she's coming, without even waiting to lock the front door. Women will never cease to amaze me.
I get in?
You do. Thus. So do I. Now, here we go. But not, I think, by the usual route.
The road, it is not possible.
Roadblocks, yes. I'm going to turn off the road and drive across this field, and I may burst a tire, but I hope to circle the town, pick up the children, and drive you all to... where, senor?
To my brother, in the mountains.
Where now? Now, if we meet soldiers, you are showing the countryside to the mad Inglés, are you not? Right?
Si.
Aha! Then here we go!
Did you find the children?
Yes. No difficulties. No heroism was required from Rayner Harrison. I left them alive and well. Till next time. They live always on the edge of chaos. But I tell you, I saw it then. Her instinct was to hold to her home, to her roots. Nothing but those children would have torn her away, nothing.
You missed the point of your own parable. Did she teach you nothing, that South American woman?
You came home.
I am not Senora Sanchez, who would have stayed to face the gunfire. I was afraid. I was plain, stark terrified, and that's the truth.
Why?
Vandals broke into the school last year, just before Christmas. All the costumes the children had made for a Christmas play ruined. The children's pictures and books ripped to pieces, windows smashed, the headmaster's family snapshots in his desk. I won't tell you what they did to those. I went there early in the morning. Mrs. Bristow was there. Jenny, she's a personal friend of mine, a great woman.
She's another teacher?
No, she's the school cleaner. She was standing there, staring at him. Just staring.
Jenny, I come up to see if I could do anything. I thought I'd start to clear up now the police have been.
Well, I'll give you a hand, shall I, love?
Oh, look at it. I mean, look. Hooligans, thugs. Oh, I tell you, it scares me.
Yes, it scares me too.
It's only in schools. When people go away, there's a break-in and the house is left like this. Not just thieving, but filth all over the floor. And their favourite bits and pieces smashed. Evil, that's what it is. And who's to blame?
Don't know who is to blame.
And
I don't
tripwires
know.
across the gateways of old people who can't see very well. And all the violence.
No, it's like a storm coming up. I can feel it. I'm half afraid to live alone now, and that's the truth.
Live alone? When you retire? You wouldn't, Would you?
Well, break-ins don't often happen after all.
Well, then why have they set up a centre to console and comfort people driven off the hinge by break-ins?
I'm not one to go off the hinge. Maybe things will change. Life's always been tough, hasn't it? Up and down, like the waves in the sea.
Mostly down. Retire to a lonely cottage and you'll have trouble. And bed-sits are worse. There's 2 old folk up our street afraid to go out. They'd be knocked about already.
Don't. Not now. I'm retiring soon and I want to be sensible about it. But this room turns common sense into a slippery article. I can't hold on to it, Jen.
It's not common sense for a woman to live alone. Not the way things are now. And you, with your rheumatism, a day may come when you need someone to give you a hand.
I haven't the temperament for a shawl and a bowl of broth by the fireside.
Oh, looking at this classroom makes me feel sick. Animals, that's what they are. Only animals haven't the manners. I never was all that set on the human race. Better off without human beings, if you ask me. Wipe the lot off and start again.
Not all of them. Think of your friends.
Or even friends marry or go abroad or die. And then where are you? It's not like family.
I can see the way you're heading.
You lived with your brother for a while, a few years ago.
I knew you'd say that, and the answer is no. No, no, no.
Only 2 weeks ago you said he was looking for a housekeeper again. And that's a beautiful house. Oh, a charming man. Well, I thought he was. Well, at that time I visited you there, he held the door open for me. Good afternoon, Mrs. Bristow, he said. Oh, a lovely voice. Lovely. A wet day again, he said. A very wet day again.
And was it?
Yeah. Pouring.
And that charmed you. Good afternoon, Mrs. Bristow. A wet day again.
Yeah, as far as it went. And a lovely voice.
As far as it went?
Well, I didn't expect him to put down the red carpet. Not for me. He'd have more in common with your other friends.
Would he?
You're fond of him? You worried about his cough?
Yes, but that hardly seems enough.
Well, enough for what?
For the rest of my life.
Well, the rest of your life won't be the same. People change when they get older. You'll change.
But will I? Are you so sure? I think it might be cowardice to tame myself and live snugly.
What's wrong with comfort? Your life's been hard enough. There's a time for settling down.
Is there? Is there ever a time, Jen, till death comes?
I mean it. Oh, if I had a chance like that, do you think I wouldn't take it? Friends? Well, they can visit, you can write letters to them, and there's Christmas cards.
Yes, there's Christmas cards.
But your brother will be right there in the house. Someone to talk to. Someone of your own sort.
I'm not sure that I have a sort.
Oh, I know everything has its drawbacks.
Yes.
Oh, don't forget I'm a widow too. I know how you feel. What scares me is being a burden when I'm old. But a brother with money, well, he can afford help if it's ever needed. You wouldn't be a burden.
That's true. I'll think about it, truly and reasonably. There.
Say to yourself, like I do at the end of a long day, I'm getting older and I'm going home.
Home? The house? It's still there.
Yes, going home.
A wise woman, your Jenny. She was right, and I was wrong. That's why I came today, to see how things are with you. And I can see that all is well. You have the settled look. You've come into harbour.
We've made adjustments. I have my own room and I keep to it. The days pass pleasantly, slowly. And in the winter, when my bones ache, there is central heating. In the summer, there is this garden by the sea.
Contentment. You'll stay here now, Bess. The circle is complete.
If you believe that, you'll believe anything.
What do you mean?
I mean that your hands are shaking. Twice you've leaned back and fought off pain silently. Don't think I didn't notice.
I am not in pain now.
Not at this moment. But you are ill, my darling. And you should not make long journeys in the heat without rest.
Yes, that was folly. But that's all it is.
That is not all it is. You're going to stay with Philip in France until... for as long as your time lasts. It isn't Philip who's dying, is it?
Is that so obvious? Oh, let's forget it. It is too soon to be stoig. Oh, stoig, by the way, is a word of my own invention, meaning stark and poignant. I detest stoigery. I am not going to discuss my illness, not yet. It's another year, at least. I find that dying is like the war. It keeps on, it drags, it refuses to finish quickly. You get used to it, Bess. Also, like war. That's all.
Oh, my dear, my treasure, what a fool you are. You didn't think I'd stay here now, did you? I'm coming with you.
You are not. You've settled at last, and by God, now you're in harbour, you'll stay there.
Nobody stays in harbour. I should have known better. We've never settled anywhere in our lives, have we? Ray, come back to the house while I get my passport. I shan't be coming back here to live. Henry will have no difficulty in finding a replacement. He never does.
You can't do it. I won't allow it. I will not.
My friend Janet lives in Paris. I'll stay with her. I shan't be in your way.
That isn't the point, and you know it.
I shall be very useful. I shall hold you back from overwork and French wine and the wilder flights of eccentricity.
I am not eccentric.
No, but you're a man of moods. When elated, you might jump off the roof of Notre Dame to prove some theory or other. Oh. You'll live much longer if I'm there, offering pills and rest and irritating advice. Can you walk all right? Back to the house?
Yes, yes. No. I don't need help. Bess, listen. Think of your own health. You're not a strong woman. One day you'll be in your 70s, and what will you do then?
I have no idea. All I know is that I'm coming with you now, and nobody's going to stop me. Nobody.
You will become an unpaid housekeeper to Janet.
So, who's complaining?
And in the end, Henry will call you back. The sexual merry-go-round is a way of breaking down in old age, and then he'll want someone to look after him. Oh, until he develops a senile passion for an 18-year-old hippie and leaves her all his money. I've seen it happen.
Well, let him. Who the hell cares?
Oh, that's such language. You will get on well with Philip. He swears at his boat.
Philip has a boat?
Yes, why?
I know about boats. I love boats. Ray, we will have ourselves a time.
Oh, God, then Philip will never let you go afterwards. You will become a servant, nurse, boatman, Janet on one side of Paris, Philip on the other. They will both be ill at once. What do you know about boats? The poetry of sail?
No, the practicalities. For instance, there are two kinds of rigging, standing rigging and running rigging.
Really? It sounds unbelievable. Are you sure?
Quite sure. I like to know how things work. The standing rigging is the permanent rigging that supports the mast.
I'll take your word for it.
And the running rigging runs through blocks and pulleys. These things are important, Ray. Oh, Ray, what a year it'll be. Longer than a year, much longer. Happiness has a hard edge to it. We're going to be happy.
Is that all you're taking?
Coat, hat, handbag. Enough money for the moment. Passport. In my desk. Just a moment.
Bess!
Can't go upstairs and hat. It would disturb Henry. Now, an umbrella, perhaps?
Well, it would give an air of respectability, yes.
Very well, an umbrella.
A hot water bottle would give the same impression even more strongly.
I'm not going to walk through the streets carrying a hot water bottle in my hand, raw, so to speak.
Supposing Henry sells the house, where will you go then? Do you realise what you're doing, Bess?
Yes, I'm doing what I want to do. He must never know that I'm so happy, Rayner, or that I'm sorry for him. He must never know.
He's bound to notice that you've gone, surely, sooner or later.
I shall write to him. She has a mania for friendship, he'll tell the world, and she'll drift into misery, but I've done my best. And he will believe it, Ray. He will believe that my life has been poverty-stricken, starved of joy, and we must let him believe it. It's important to him. If he saw me now, I couldn't look repressed and inhibited. I've tried, heaven knows I've tried, but I can't do it.
Then we must shut the door quietly.
Ray. Oh, Ray. You do believe that this can be a wonderful year, on and off. A great year.
On and off? Yes, I do. Bess, you're sure you want to come?
I'm getting older and I'm going home.
Then why are you clutching the bar of that gate? Do you want to take it with you?
I used to swing on it. It needs oiling. It always did.
You're out of your mind to leave this house. Choosing to live like a nomad on the edge of so many lives. Rayner, Philip, Janet, and how many others as well. It's madness. Not that I was ever much in favour of sanity, no.
It's not a sane world. The unexpected happens every day. We each follow our own threads out of the labyrinth, that's all.
Friendship and religion, just that thread, nothing else. Is that strong enough?
It will hold. Come on, Ray. We'll have such a time.
Oh, when I came through that gate an hour and a half ago, I was imitating Henry. With a certain malevolence, I will admit. Yes.
And now?
Oh, I can still manage it. Charitably. They left the house together at 5:17 approximately, and nothing more was heard of them, except for long letters from my sister, which arrive regularly, telling me nothing whatever. Certainly there were rumours that in a small province in France, the villagers became wildly drunk on local wine at a festival organised by the man Rayner in honour of some religious festivity, which would doubtless please my sister. Poor woman, she knows no better. There was also a spectacular display of fireworks in which all the rockets exploded sideways, causing widespread havoc, I dare say. But I'm afraid that with those two, little else can be expected.
I'll write and tell him about boats.
All wasted. Tell me about boats.
When your boat has a bowsprit, there is a stay running from its outboard end to the bow.
Is there indeed? I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, there is. It's just above the waterline.
Summertime on Bredon, the bells they sound so clear. Round both the shires they ring, the many steeples far and near, a happy noise to hear. Here of a Sunday morning, my love and I would lie and see the coloured counties and hear the lark so high about us in the sky. The bells would ring to call her in valleys miles away. Come all to church, good people, come and pray. But here my love would stay. I would turn and answer among the springing time. Here upon our wedding, and we will hear the chime and come to church in time. But when the snows at Christmas on Bredon top were strewn, my love rose up so early and stole out unbeknown and went to church alone. They told the one bell only, groom there was none to see. The mourners followed after, and so to church went she, and would not wait for me. The bells they sound on Bredon, and still the steeples hum. Come all to church, good people, oh noisy bells, be dumb. I hear you.
In The Unexpected by Barbara Fox, Rayner Harrison was played by Michael Spice and Elizabeth Shaw by Joan Matheson. Henry was played by Michael Goldie